Welcome to the Hockey Writers Prospect Corner, a show with our top prospects writing crew, bringing you the latest news, analysis, scouting reports, mocks, rankings, and much more. From the World Juniors to the NHL draft floor, from the farm to the NHL, our team covers everything that happens in the world of prospects. So sit back, grab a notebook, and get ready for Prospect Corner.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Prospect Corner presented by the Hockey Writers. Today, we're going to be taking a look at some of the top prospects playing in the United States, including the USHL, the NCAA, and the AHL. I'm your host, Logan Horn, and today I am joined by my co-hosts and fellow prospect analysts, Matthew Zator and Peter Baracchini. How are you doing today, Matt?
Doing good. We got having a few regular season games in the books. The Canucks are 2-0, so I am happy. The Abbotsford Canucks are also, I don't know if they're 2-0. I think they're 2-0 as well.
I think they're both. I saw something that both of the Canucks teams were 2-0.
Yeah, they won against Laval again too, right? Yeah, so they're 2-0 as well. So I'm riding high.
Nice. Everything's positive in the lower mainland area right now. We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah.
Things tend to crash and burn a little there sometimes, but who knows? This could be the year. You never know. Peter, how are you doing today? How are things?
Yeah, doing good. Happy that hockey's back. Kind of like Matt, team's 2-0 with the Maple Leafs. Austin Matthews is just continuing to torch it up right now. So I know we're here to talk about prospects, but I wouldn't be doing my, due diligence if we didn't honor Matthews, because what he did back to back, I mean, damn, that's impressive.
Absolutely. Back-to-back hat tricks to open the season. Like that's nuts. It's a lot of fun. We were joking just before the show that last season, McDavid was upset that the year before Matthews stole the heart from him. And so he started scoring a bunch of goals. And now this year, Matthews is upset that McDavid stole the rocket and the heart and everything from him. And so he's getting payback. And who knows? We'll see how long that pattern lasts. We'll see how long they just alternate all of the awards, all of them. Anyway, yeah, it's exciting. I'm super glad hockey's back too. Lots of exciting stuff to do, but we'll get into some prospects here in just a second. First though, I do want to mention that the Hockey Writers, we've recently expanded our offerings with a Substack dedicated to each NHL team, as well as a general one every day for the best articles across the site. But in our case, we've got a prospect Substack, NHL Draft and Prospect Substack. And if you don't want to miss any of that great content that gets produced across the teams and our draft team, the three of us and some other people making draft content there, make sure you sign up to get all of those prospect articles delivered right to your email inbox multiple times throughout the week. A sign up link can be found in the video description below. So check that out, please and thank you. All right, so this is the second episode of a series we started last week looking at the top drafted and undrafted prospects in a variety of leagues around the world, just early on in the season, just kind of early impressions and people to keep an eye on this year. So go back to last week if you want to check that one out. We talked about the CHL, all the Canadian major junior leagues, but we're going to kick things off this week, with the USHL, which has really emerged as a more of a contender in the junior world, at least in North America, which is really interesting. And it's become a bit of a player when it comes to some top Canadian prospects, even over the last years. Adam Fantilli, Owen Power, Max Celebrini, and it's just going to keep continuing. So none of those guys are on this list right now because they've moved on to different leagues. But it's a real player. It's a real league. It's an important one. So we're going to start it off with the Green Bay Gamblers. Player I want to talk about there is Adam Gajan, goaltender drafted by the Blackhawks, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Peter, what are your thoughts on Gajan and his start? I mean, I think he has 1-2 games. I don't know. Can't remember how many games he started already, but what are your thoughts on him early here?
Yeah, 5-2 records, so he's played in 7. It's a little bit, odd because of the journey that he's taken, where, he started in the NAHL for the Chippewa Steel, and then he goes over, has a stellar performance that he has at the World Juniors, and all of a sudden he's on the map of being one of the top goaltenders selected in the 2023 draft. lo and behold, the Blackhawks took them, as we mentioned before, in the second round. So yeah, that pick is starting to look very, very well. I just mentioned his record, but also a 912 save percentage, which has him within the top 10 in the USHL, which, not bad considering he also had some looks last season as well, late in the season as well. And also he's 13th in goals against average in 2.94. So yeah, really good start for him. Obviously, again, maybe there was a little bit of doubt because of the journey that he took. When prospects come, up out of nowhere, you start to get like maybe a little, not necessarily doubt, but you want to be cautious on how you like over project them. But he's living up to that hype right now, and he's taking everything in stride. Like ever since that World Junior Tournament, things have been going his way, and he's been playing very well, very solid in the crease, good mobility. Can track the puck very well. I've seen a few games, haven't seen quite a whole lot, but definitely going to keep an eye on him throughout the season because. Yeah, he's just another top goaltending prospect in the Hawks system right now because now they got Drew Comesso who's working his way up. So maybe have a little bit of a rivalry or battle or clash for the crease in the near future. But, he's looking very good. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'd be a dream for them to have a little bit of that healthy competition in the prospect pool in net. Really unprecedented path for a high-end prospect, AHL, USHL, who knows where he's heading next really, but as you mentioned, like really just kicked the hype train off at the World Juniors, and he's been living up to it. He's been showing pretty well for himself. It's not an amazing start, but it's pretty positive. It's early, and it's a new level for him. It's a new team, so you got to give him a little bit of a buffer. Maybe that's a fair disclaimer for the whole episode. Small sample size alert. None of these players have played more than 6-7 games, and many of them that we'll get to have played a lot less than that. So especially this is just very early reactions. Yeah.
Especially when we get to the national development team.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Small sample size alert there. You've been warned. Cole Eiserman is probably not going to score 108 goals or whatever. He might, though. We'll talk about it. Next up on the USHL side, the Muskegon Lumberjacks. They've got one of my recent favorite prospects in the 2024 draft, Sacha Boisvert. And I'm a huge fan of his. I think he's 6'2" already. He's a center. He's got great skill with the puck. He was a really great playmaker last year, especially along the boards, kind of not at the level of, say, like a Zach Benson, maybe. Like the playmaking around the boards with Benson is just absurd. But really, really solid. The shot was a little weak last year. I'd say like below average, but small sample size. Early this year, it's looked really solid, his shot. I think he's got a chance of being like a first half of the first round pick, like top 16 guy. If he can keep it up. He's got the size, he's got the skating, he's got the skill. Maybe not an elite prospect, but I think he's going to be a good one, and he's got a chance to be solid middle six center, maybe. Who knows if he bumps to the wing, but he's got the size to be an NHL center, and I think teams are going to gravitate to that for sure. So someone to watch out for this year. He's had a good start points wise, but it's more about the process and the development at this point than points in the USHL. Matt, I'll come to you on this next one. Dubuque Fighting Saints. They've got Juraj Pekarcik, who we talked about towards the end of last year. He really broke out at the U18s with Dalibor Dvorsky. But he's held it up a little bit. Like, what are your thoughts on Pekarcik and how he started so far?
Yeah, coming over from, it's always interesting to see these guys that come over from the European leagues and see how they adjust to a North American style game. And yeah, he's looked pretty good. 2 goals, 9 points in 8 games. USHL, like you said, is starting to become a league that we're starting to pay a lot more attention to, because there's a lot more guys coming out of this league and being legitimate NHLers than ever before, really. And yeah, they do have the main team, Chicago Steel being the biggest one that produces these guys. Pekarcik, St. Louis Blues draft pick, 3rd round last draft, and looking like a pretty good pick in that 3rd round so far. Good size, good hockey sense, and so far so good in the North American game, and a lot more assists than goals, obviously, but we'll see how he does, because he's a little under a point a game, and I'm going over a point a game so far. So I'm excited to see what he can do for the rest of the season, because like I said, the USHL is not a bad league to play in anymore. And just to see what he can do for the rest of the season if he can keep this up.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, it's always really fascinating to watch players who played in difficult Euro leagues coming to North American Junior. You never know. Maybe this is where he kind of stalls out at this level this year, at least, and that would still be a good year, I'd say. But maybe he figures it out a little bit. He gets more comfortable off the ice. He gets a little more comfortable with the narrow ice of North America. And maybe he excels. I mean, he fights really hard. He cuts to the middle of the ice. And so for there to be less space for him to go to get to the middle, maybe that works for him. Maybe that works for his game even better. So yeah, he'll be interesting to watch for sure. You brought him up, Peter. So I'm gonna ask you about Cole Eiserman, USA NTDP squad. They play a lot of their games in the USHL. They also play inter-squad games. They play against NCAA competition in like exhibition games that don't count for the NCAA teams standings or anything like that. But they spend a lot of their time in the USHL, so we'll talk about them here. You've got Cole Eiserman here. We've talked about him a lot, but what have you seen from him early on? And is he going to score 100 goals this year?
Yeah, let's put that wager down that he's going to score 100 goals. Nah, he's not. But you can't deny his goal scoring abilities. I mean, that shot, the ability to get open. I mean, it's already at an NHL level when you compare him to the likes of, Alex Ovechkin, Austin Matthews, already like established elite snipers at the next level. And he's already doing that right now, and that's great. But, that is his one strength, and that's the one thing that I see with his game. It's just there isn't like a whole lot of other aspects to his game that really stands out. But, teams want goals. He's definitely going to be your guy. And if he's going to be that big producing winger, then you may want to invest in him. Again, it seems like there's a lot of times where he's waiting for the play to come to him instead of him getting involved. Sometimes where it's just a little bit too passive, but you know what, when he's open and he's teamed up ready for a shot, that puck is going in the back of the net, or at least it's going to be a dangerous chance on net. Offense is always on his mind, and when the puck is on his stick, and again, a lot of promise and potential. It's just we just want to see a little bit more because we know he's dangerous, putting the puck in the net.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to be very interesting to watch this year. The numbers are going to pop. Like, I'll set the over-under for goals at like 80, which would be above the existing record of, I believe, 76 set by Cole Caulfield for single-season goals in the NTDP. It feels like he's gunning for that, and it's not going to take him much longer at this rate. It's going to take him like 3 months. But it's a little difficult to evaluate him. Watching him early this year, obviously, it was easy through the summer to get super excited about the shot, the goal scoring capability. But like you said, you can kind of wait for stuff to happen. I feel like the dream for a player like this is for the goal scoring instincts and the shot to be elite, which they are. And then for the rest of his game to be at least like average, which is like, by average, that's a good thing. Like NHL average, which is really good. One of the best in the world still. But in the NHL, it's just average. Except a few of his attributes are a little below in my eyes. Like his competitiveness is not really there consistently enough, maybe. So he needs to grow a little bit. But like you said, teams are going to be just blown away by the shot. And that's not wrong by any means. I think that's the right thing. There's definitely room for growth with this prospect. So I'll be curious to watch that happen. Another player on the NTDP who is actually an underage player, so he's not eligible until the 2025 draft, is James Hagens. Matt, I'll come to you on Hagens. What are your thoughts on his start? I mean, he's going to be at worst the second best player on this team, even though he's not eligible for an extra year. So what have you seen from him early on?
We talk about, again, this is a year we're talking about all these 2023 guys, and all of a sudden these 2024 guys, and all of a sudden these 2025 guys are starting to take over spotlight.
Starting to pop, yeah.
And he's only 16 years old, playing in this league, and he's and he's, I don't know, say dominating, but he's doing pretty well. At the NTDP level, he's got 17 points in 9 games. And then at the junior with the US NTDP juniors and the USHL, 11 points in 5 games. So I maybe call that dominating. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, it's way over a point a game.
It's amazing.
Against a lot of like guys that are way older than him. And, he's played with Cole Eiserman, World Junior Showcase. He's played with him. Really good playmaker. Probably it's hard to say you don't want to say the best right now because he's 2025. But to be at 16, I love it when these young guys just dominate at levels that they shouldn't be at that age. Yeah. And his physical, his frames haven't grown into their frame yet. And they're doing this. It's amazing. And Hagens has sure gotten off to a good start. And, at this point, want to say maybe a top 10 pick in 2025. I mean, very, very early, but definitely in that range of 10 to 15 at this point. And we'll see if he can keep this up because, like I say, all these small sample size, but put up quite a few points in last season as well over all the leagues. So I'm excited to see what he can keep doing. There's a word I'll keep using is excited because it's always exciting to see all these guys and how they can progress throughout the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Hagens has been unreal. I don't know if it's a hot take or not, but to be honest, right now he's my favorite to go first overall next year. Above Michael Misa. Above Michael Misa. And to be honest, this one I'm pretty sure is actually a hot take, is that if he was like a month older and he was eligible for 2024, I might have him as my top ranked prospect. He's at very least, he's in that top group with Max Celebrini. It would just be those two to me. I think they're ahead above at this point. Eiserman, Demidov, Catton, and Dickinson and Lev Shunov. It's gonna be a good draft again. But for real, like James Hagens has been amazing, and I'm very high on him right now. And he's got an extra year. He's gonna go to college next year because he's gonna be on the U18 team, I guess, again.
2025-26, Boston College.
He's a commit early. Anyway, he's phenomenal. So he's great. Another 2025 eligible I want to mention briefly on the NTDP is Logan Hensler. Team Logan supremacy over here. We're getting better. There's more and more prospects and players in the NHL team named Logan. It's perfect. But actually, probably the best defenseman right now in the NTDP, and he's a year younger. Cole Hudson might have some stuff to say about that, EJ Emery. But Hensler's my favorite, 6'2" already. And he's a right shot D. Really good two-way play so far. Been really impressed with him. Some camps during the summer and then early on this year. So he's someone to watch for the next 18 months or so. And then the next 20 years after that, probably, because I think he's going to be a star. An early competitor for the top D in that class, although we don't know a lot of players in that class quite yet because they're 15 years old still, most of them. All right, that'll wrap up the USHL side here, and we'll move quickly to college hockey, to the NCAA. And we're going to start it off with University of Minnesota, who lost Logan Cooley and Matt Nyes. And most teams would be really bad if they lost that quality in a single year. But there's actually still a ton of talent here. So, Peter, I'll come to you first with Jimmy Snuggerud, the St. Louis Blues prospect, known for his goal scoring. What do you think of it so far? What do you think of him with missing some talent? But that top line was dominant for them last year. But it looks like it could still be pretty good, to be honest with you, early on.
Yeah, missing some talent, but at the same time, he's, making up for the loss of both Cooley and Nyes because he's leading the team with 4 goals and 5 points at this point. So yeah, he basically all the offense is basically going to go through him. But yeah, I mean, obviously the shots on display, but that power forward late game where he's always intent on the forecheck, always driving hard to the middle, getting himself open. He's just doing the little things that just makes him a very talented prospect. And, I might have been a little bit lower on him during that draft class. But you know what? He was one of those players where I was kind of like, should I rank him a little bit higher, a little bit lower? Because I just couldn't quite get a feel. But it definitely is real with Snuggerud in his offensive game right now. It looks like it's being taken to like new heights, and he's elevated his play along the way as well. And that's what you want to see in the progression at the collegiate level, where, you know, it's kind of hard to, you know, match a 50-point freshman season that he had, along with Cooley with 21 goals and 29 assists. But he looks like he's well on the road to do that with 5 points in 2 games. So, yeah, just what he's able to do with the intent and the work ethic that he has, it's going to separate himself and make him a very standout player at the collegiate level again this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And someone we talked about a lot in this last year, Oliver Moore, is joining that team. A center, a little bit undersized. However, in college hockey, undersized requires a shorter height. So he's actually just like he's closer to like average size. So it's not really as big an issue a lot of the times in college hockey or in junior as well. And he's looked really good early on. I think the big question for Moore is if he can stick it out, maybe as a top line center there. That's a lot to ask of a freshman, especially defensively. But if he can keep that workload going, which we know he skates well enough to play that role for sure, then I think he could have a really successful year. He's already got 4 assists in 2 games. So watch out for Moore getting a lot of ice time this year. Hopefully he can really pop this year as a freshman. We'll move on to the University of Michigan now. Just a classic team, kind of like we talked about the Chicago Steel and the USHL being just the talent factory in that league. That's kind of what University of Michigan has been for a while now. However, they've lost Luke Hughes, they've lost Matty Beniers, Adam Fantilli. They've still got a lot of talent, but they've lost some of the stars they've had for the last, 2 to 5 years in a lot of cases. So Matt, I'll come to you first here with Rutger McGroarty, who is currently leading all of college hockey in scoring, or at least all of Division I college hockey. What are your thoughts on McGroarty? And I personally didn't expect the points to be his calling card even this year, as a leader on this team. But what have you thought of him early on?
Yeah, it's, last season he had 39 points in 39 games, a point a game, but already 9 points in 4 games. This season, 2 goals, 7 assists, and has had points in all games so far this season, and already a 4-point game under his belt. We've talked about Rutger McGroarty quite a bit on this show during his draft year, during different feature things. We featured the Winnipeg Jets. He's off to a great start, and in college hockey, your sophomore season, it starts becoming where you start getting the more ice time, you start getting the more opportunities. And especially with all these stars that are leaving, that have left, he's gotten a bigger role in the team too. And it looks like he's taken it and starting to run with it. And, it's kind of unfair when you see all these different talent just keep coming for the Michigan Wolverines. And he's just another guy that seems to have stepped up and is starting to, be that dominant leader and on pace for more than 39 points, obviously, so far. And I think he does, shatter that 39 and ends up, being a real, I don't know about leading the NCAA, but, that'd
be a bold
prediction. He could.
You never know. He could. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to actually just scoot up now. They've got other talent, as I mentioned, Seamus Casey, Frank Nazar, who it's been good to see him succeeding after missing most of last year, recovering from a surgery and an injury. I want to talk about Boston University, who've got just a crazy group of talent, and it looks like they might get more with Cole Eiserman committing there for next season. But the name that we've talked about a little already, danced around, but it's Max Celebrini. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. He's been great to start. Like, I don't know what else you would expect, but I've kind of, in my mind, I've set parameters for his freshman season based on 2 recent prospects. And I want to ask you guys where you think he lands in between those. So the low end, which is wild, is a Matty Beniers freshman season, which was 24 points in 24 games. So exactly a point a game, Solid two-way play, was a leader for that team, and then only spent one more year and moved on to be a pro and be the best rookie in the NHL. So that's a really good freshman season. And then on the other end is Adam Fantilli, 1.8 points per game, which was just absurd for a freshman and kind of unrealistic expectations to set for anyone. Where do you think he lands in the middle of that? Matt, I'll come to you first.
Yeah, he's not going to be Fantilli. I don't think so. But I think he does go above Beniers. I think he's probably, I mean, maybe it's a cop-out saying right in the middle. They'll go right in the middle of it.
That's fair.
But I think he could. Like I said, I don't think he's the high, but he's definitely not the low end. I think he's probably falls right in the middle there.
Yeah, totally fair. Peter, what about you? Where do you think Celebrini falls between Beniers and Fantilli as a freshman?
Yeah, in the middle, but I think it would just be like moved a little bit closer to Fantilli, just because on the deceptiveness of his goal scoring, his deceptiveness of his overall game, and the way that he manipulates plays, it's already fooling players at this level, and he's just a freshman right now. I believe there was a clip online where I think it was I'll search up the name later on, but I do remember it. Where he's like doing little subtle fakes and everyone's baiting into him to making a pass, and he just goes the opposite way. Like those little subtle moves and that IQ and awareness that he's able to have at that level is very impressive. So in the middle between Fantilli and Beniers, but I would say just a tad bit closer to the Fantilli side.
Okay, that's fair. Those are all fair. I think I'm going to hit like 1.35 points per game, which is just under the halfway point. I think he is incredibly young to be in college hockey. So even a point per game season where he's good would be phenomenal. I don't know this to be true, but I'm pretty confident that he would be the youngest of these three at the time that their freshman season started, which is wonderful. And I really, really, really hope, just for our sake, that he goes back to college hockey for one more year, because him playing with Cole Eiserman again next year would be so much fun, because you look at their numbers back in Shattuck St. Mary's and it looks like they're playing NHL 24 or whatever. Like they're just playing video games. It's just silly. They were just nuts, and it was just not fair. So I hope we get the chance to watch them play again. So he's going to have a great year.
It was Daniel G that posted the clip of Celebrini from Elite Prospects.
Gotcha. Yeah. Check him out. He's great. He's a great scout, especially if you're a Canucks fan, I'd say.
Oh, I get a lot of the clips from
Yeah, he's great. He's great. Check out Daniel G on Twitter, YouTube, wherever you want. He's great. We love him here. Yeah. Matt, I'll come to you quick on another Boston U prospect, Tom Willander, a Canucks prospect. What are your thoughts on him early on? He missed the first game due to weird college hockey pro experience rules, but what have you thought of him in his early showings?
Amazing. He's been great. He's already has 2 points, had 2 points in his first game, scored his first goal, and looked very good. I mean, he was set at when he started on the game, third pairing, bottom pairing. But you know, getting points on you right off the bat is pretty good in NCAA. Yeah. And he didn't just do it he looked great in transition. He showed a lot of what, we love about him as a prospect and as a defenseman. Very good passer, very, very deceptive passer. I made a couple of plays where I'm like, you have to really isolate him and watch a whole game where you're just watching him and his passing, because some of the things you have to really watch really closely for him to see what he does, because there's a few that kind of, I think it was one play where he just did a little bit of a drag to pass it off. And then, it's something that you want to watch because he's very subtle with it. But I'm excited to see him in Canucks colors one day, but very good start to his NCAA career, getting 2 points in your first game and your first goal. I mean, that doesn't happen for defensemen a lot of the time, because a lot of these guys don't score a lot. Even forwards don't score a ton in the NCAA. So you get your first right away and look pretty good at that level. I'm excited to see him for the rest of this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a bold choice on his part. It's not common to see top European prospects come to North American college hockey. right after the draft. It's pretty rare, but he was betting on himself and the fact that he'd get a larger role, more ice time, better chance to be close to whatever team that drafted him and their development system and stuff. And it looks pretty good so far. Early returns are positive. Absolutely. Willander's looked great so far. All right. I just want to quickly mention again that the Hockey Writers has expanded our offerings. We have a Substack dedicated to every team, but also a prospects and draft Substack. So you can subscribe to that and you'll be sent all of the best content about NHL prospects, about upcoming draft prospects, everything like that, in a newsletter a couple times a week sent to your email inbox. You can find a sign-up link for that in the description below. Please check it out. We would really appreciate that. It's been a lot of fun to get that started, so check that out. All right, let's jump back into our look at the best prospects playing in the U.S. right now. We're actually going to move past junior hockey, or I don't know if you can count NCAA as junior hockey, but we're moving to strictly professional hockey, the AHL, American Hockey League. And we're going to talk through some of the top prospects playing in that league, at least to start the season. There's a few here that I think are fair to expect to see them hopping up into the NHL at some point. But we'll start off with someone who's been having a great start here for the Laval Rocket, Joshua Waugh. Peter, I'll come to you first on him, a Habs prospect who's been turning it out for a couple of years now, honestly, above expectations. But what have you thought of his hot start so far?
I am so glad that he was able to sort of turn the tides, because in his draft year, it seemed like there's like a little bit of questions about, his skating, mentality, work ethic overall. And now all of a sudden he's just been on a dominant tear ever since. That was the season. It was still around the COVID years where, things were a little bit iffy, but, when he was drafted, in the 5th round in 2021, that's looking like a big steal for the Habs right now, because then he went on to have 119 points in 21-22, 99 last season, and now he's already having, a strong start to this AHL season. 4 points in 2 games. I believe he's within the top 10 in scoring already. Sorry, just outside the top 10. He's 11th. But who's splitting hairs at this point. He's really, really dominant. Like, he's really found his game with his, puck protection skills, the offensive side of the game, the ability to get in on the forecheck. I think the fact that he was able to use his size a little bit more right now, I think that's been the biggest difference maker for him. And he's excelling in all aspects of the game, in all 3 zones, and especially in the offensive zone as well. So yeah, big start for him. I've been a really big fan of his since his draft year. Glad Montreal got him, because he's a player that they could probably use in the near future very soon. And don't expect, I would assume maybe a call-up if everything continues to go well. So
yeah, that's definitely not out of question. Even this early, it's not out of question, especially because pardon me, any Habs fans, but the Habs don't look very good this year. The Canadians don't look excellent this year, and they can use some help. Who knows? Maybe that's a little bit of a rush for him, and they want to keep him down for a little bit. But he's looked fantastic. Yeah, massive fan of that. He looked great at the World Juniors. I'll bring back something I talked about a little last year, a term I made up for players of his style. He's a snowplow. He goes out there and he clears the ice and he makes everything easy for his teammates. Maybe I should say Zamboni. Is that better? Maybe Zamboni's better for it. Just cleans the ice up, makes everything better and easier for his teammates. He makes everything easier. Guys want to play with someone like that, like a Zach Hyman, something like that in the NHL. Like, just makes your life easier, makes hockey more fun. So he's a really fun player to watch. Really hot start. He's going to be good. Next up is the Grand Rapids Griffins, who have quite a few great players there right now. But Matt, I'll come to you on this one. Simon Edvinsson, what are your thoughts on his start, and maybe even just the fact that he's there? Like what do you think about that situation?
I mentioned it, or Devin and I mentioned it on Grind Line this past episode, that he shouldn't be there. I mean, he's an NHL defenseman, and he looks like an NHL defenseman in the AHL already. As his first goal, I mean, surprised, not really surprised he already has his first goal. And he's, like I say, just bottom line, he just looks like he shouldn't be in the AHL. I mean, The Grand Rapids Griffins got a ton of great defensemen, but he's obviously the best on the team. I mean, the Griffins are 2-0, but they've given up a ton of shots on goal throughout their first 2 games, and their goaltending has been better. And Sebastian Cossa is one. We'll talk about him later on, but he was a big part of why they won one of those games. And Edvinsson, back to Edvinsson, he's just. Yeah, I don't know if there's much more to say. He shouldn't be in the AHL. He's been great. He should be playing in the NHL where he's already looked great. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a weird situation right now. He's in that limbo space where every Red Wings game that passes without him in the lineup, they're leaving a little bit on the table. They could be better. They could have a better chance to win each game. It feels like that is probably true. But I also can see the argument for playing Edvinsson top power play, playing him big minutes in the AHL on a team that, while they're super young, at least has a chance to win some serious games compared to recent years. I can see the arguments for both. I am of the opinion, though, that Edvinsson will be the first D call up in Detroit and probably won't be sent down again. I think if he gets called up, I think it's over. I think his AHL career is over. Sorry, everyone.
Over before it started.
But yeah, basically. So great start. About all you could expect from him. He's like a quad A. He's not a triple A. Like, he's not AHL level. He's too good for that, but borderline NHL, and they want to play him 25 minutes instead of 10 to 15 probably. So we'll see how it goes for now, but that's what it looks like to start. Another defenseman who was a little bit of a surprise to see in the AHL, that also might not last there very long with the San Diego Gulls, is Olen Zellweger. Lots of great D prospects in Anaheim. Just an absurd group there. We've talked about that a bunch. But Zellweger started off the year in the AHL. I, again, don't think that'll last long. We've talked about him a bunch in recent years. The skating is phenomenal. Like, I don't know. Is it crazy to say he's like going to be a top 10 skater in the NHL soon? I'll say at least in his prime, for sure. Yeah. Top 10 skater in the NHL, like best skater in junior hockey this last year. He's phenomenal, super talented. The Ducks don't have much going for them except all their players under 22, basically. So watch for him to make the team soon, but he does have some competition. Minchikov, Tristan Luneau, Noah Warren, is he on that team as well? I believe. Yes, that's the same prospect pool. Thank you very much. You could tell I was nervous. And
Luneau's on the team right now.
Yeah, that's right. Luneau made the team. It's wild there. Their D-core is going to be stupid young, but also very talented. So Zellweger will probably crack that pretty soon too. I guess we'll make it 3. Someone who's young and that I was surprised to see in the AHL. Peter, I'll come to you for this one. The Tucson Roadrunners. Dylan Guenther started the year in the AHL. I think it's fair to say the Arizona Coyotes have a much better top 6 forward group than a lot of people give them credit for. But what are your thoughts on Guenther starting in the AHL? He's looked good for sure, but I guess not good enough to be top 6 in the NHL. Maybe not good enough to be top 9. I don't know what their plan is there, but what are your thoughts on his situation?
Yeah, if the plan is to put him into the top 6, then yeah, it probably is best to put him in the minors. Speaking with the Toronto Maple Leafs, we've seen that happen with Nick Robertson, where you don't want your top prospect to get those bottom 6 minutes. You want them to succeed and get them to the point that they want to be at, that you want them to be there. And he's going to be a top 6 forward for the Coyotes in the future. And yeah, it was kind of a bit of a shock too, considering that he already has like 33 games of experience under his belt. Mm-hmm. And that was also last year where, they're still kind of towards the bottom of the standings. They needed some help. He got that experience, went to the World Juniors, and then went back to junior as well to try and win a championship there. I believe he did get the WHL championship with the Thunderbirds. He did get it. Okay, perfect. So had that going for him. But yeah, I think that, kind of like Simon Edvinsson, I don't think it'll be long before he gets a call up, and they maybe feel that they can get like maybe a little bit of an extra push into their top six. And then Guenther is definitely going to be that player if and when he comes up, because he's definitely going to be a dynamic player. We've seen the shot, we've seen the ability to attack the net. He's just an all-around dynamic offensive threat, and it won't be long before he gets that call.
Yeah, that's fair. I think similar situation to Edvinsson probably is that it was a little bit of a surprise, a little strange to see him go to the AHL, but it's not like either of those guys are like overripe. It's not like they've spent too much time toiling away in the minors. It's like they're still very young. They're still new to North American pro hockey, at least. So it's totally reasonable to start them there. And if the Coyotes are looking to have him play a big role when he's with the big club, then yeah, it could be more beneficial to just get big minutes in an easier league for a while. So we'll see how that one goes. I think it's fair, like you said, Peter, to expect that not to last too long. Someone else who's made his debut. Well, is it his debut? I can't remember if he played last year, actually. But Logan Stankoven, who we have obsessed over for multiple years now, Team Logan supremacy once again, he's taken even the most avid haters of undersized, high skill prospects and made them believers, because he looks like a legit prospect, not just someone who has a good chance to make the league, but has a chance to be like a top 6 contributor, which at his size makes him the exception to the rule of, guys under 5'9" don't make the NHL, aren't serious contributors. There are exceptions, and he looks like one of them for sure. Good start early on. I think he's got 2 points already. Where did I have that? I lost him. Yeah, 2 goals in his first two games this year in the AHL. He tore it up in the WHL last year. Was like one of the only people on pace to kept keeping track with Connor Bedard, even though he's 2 years older or something. But he's looked really good to start. And I don't know that the NHL is in his future this year, just because the Dallas Stars, are a cup contender and might not have the space to kind of give him a chance if he doesn't just blow them away. But I wouldn't be shocked with it, because he works incredibly hard. He's another Zamboni snowplow player, whatever. Pick which one you like more. Tell me in the comments if there's one you like better. Do you like that being a snowplow or Zamboni? I can't decide yet. I'll have to think about that one. I'll have to sleep on that. But Stankoven's had a great start. Love that player. Hope he keeps succeeding. One more guy here before we talk about some goalies in the AHL. And, I'm coming to you, Matt, because I know you're a big fan. Arshdeep Bains with the Abbotsford Canucks. Had a good year last year, and his first pro year. Nothing crazy, but a solid year for sure. It looked like he had a chance to make the NHL out of camp. But he's starting the year off in the AHL once again. What are your thoughts on Arshdeep Bains this year?
Yeah, he's had a great start. 4 points in 2 games here so far. At 4 points in 1 game. His past game, he was shut out. But he's just one of those guys I'm just going to love to see in the NHL one day, because he's going to be that. I keep going back. I'm thinking he's going to be like an Alex Burrows in the NHL. He's going to be very good. Have some time maybe clicking with some players in the top 6 for a time, but most of the time be a really, really good guy that can just come up and down the lineup, score goals, good penalty killer. He's already a great penalty killer in the AHL. I still go back to those 2 shorthanded goals he had on the same shift, which is wild to have 2 on the same shift. Because I don't even know how that happened, but he did. He scored 2 shorthanded goals. But he's one of those guys I just love to cheer for, because very high, hardworking player, great work ethic. And he's underrated. He's very underrated in his skill level as well. And like everyone knows, undrafted guy that the Canucks signed out of the WHL after he won the scoring title there. And already in the AHL, he had, like you said, decent season last year, 13 goals in 38 games. Was really good in the playoffs, and that's where he scored those 2 shorthanded goals. But I'm really impressed by him. I've already been impressed. I'm impressed even more this season. That first game could end up being a leader in that top 6 group for the Abbotsford Canucks. And I'm hoping he gets a call up as well, because I don't know if he will, because a lot of players the Canucks signed in the offseason and acquired are similar players to him. So unless one of those guys go down, that's probably when he comes up. But I'm excited. I love watching him play. So fact that he's just in my backyard here is great.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been great ever since they signed him. Well, I guess that year before they signed him, he was great too. But yeah, it's really cool to see someone who's so young. I think he's 23 or so right now. Just like first game of the year, AHL, just his second year there. Like he's first over the boards, first penalty. Like that's a pretty good sign that he's got a shot in the bottom 6, especially for a team like Vancouver that has made it a point this year, this offseason, to improve personnel on the penalty kill and improve systems and stuff. And so to have someone kind of learning those systems as they come, as he builds towards the NHL, is a really, really big possibility there for him to be a serious contributor in the bottom 6 in a year or two, maybe. So yeah, great start for him. Hope it keeps going. And lastly, I want to talk about some goalies. And once again, small sample size alert. Most of these goalies have played one game. So I'm just going to say a few names and I'll ask you guys your thoughts. So Sebastian Cossa, Dylan Garand, Mads Søgaard, Yaroslav Askarov, and Drew Commesso. Those 5 goaltenders in the AHL. Some of them are making their AHL debuts, at least for roughly, like, I would consider this Sebastian Kossa's like full-time AHL debut. He spent a little bit of time there last year, but this is when they were serious about him being there. Drew Commesso, Dylan Garand getting established here finally. Askarov had a great year in the AHL last year, and Søgaard has been just lights out to start the year. I actually think he doesn't have a goal against in at least over one game. I think he might have played a second. But what are your guys' thoughts on these goalies? Peter, I'll come to you first. Thoughts on some of these goalies who are just starting off real hot, like expectations. Where do you feel about that? Who do you think could be a surprise this year, maybe?
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult because, like you said, only 1 or 2 games played, and some of these players have actually played like, multiple ones. They're already at like 2, 3, 4, so you got a little bit more of a bit of a larger sample. But I want to focus in on Dylan Garand. I've been a big fan of his for a long time, and obviously didn't have the best numbers last season in the regular season. He was kind of like in that backup role. But, he got a look in the playoffs and he had a .935 save percentage and a 1.76 goals against average. And like you said, small sample, 1 game this year, but he has a win under his belt, .958 save percentage and 1 goal against. Obviously, I think that's probably because he finished off hot in the playoffs last season. I think right now, if he's able to start to run away with the starter role with the Hartford Wolfpack, I think this is going to be a goaltender that's going to put up a lot of strong numbers and is going to keep the puck out quite a bit because he's very steady, great rebound control. I think that's the big thing where, some goalies lack that ability where the rebounds kind of get away from them. He's very steady when it comes to that. But yeah, I think early on, it's a great sign for him. I want to keep keeping tabs on him because I've been a big fan of his ever since, the 2020 draft. And, the Rangers, how good they are at finding goaltenders. They may have just found another one.
Yeah, absolutely. He looked great in his start. I was going to say he's looking great early on, but it's 1 game. So he has looked great.
He did look great
in that
start,
game.
Yes.
I'll quickly mention Yaroslav Askarov, who we talked about a bit last year, made his North American debut, played the majority of the season in the AHL, and was really good. I think a .911 save percentage in the majority of the starts there, which is super impressive for a young goalie just starting out in that league, especially considering he played more games last year alone than he did in like the 3 seasons previous due to COVID and playing in the KHL where he didn't get a lot of games. So just a wild change in lifestyle and in workload, but he took it really well. He looked great. Just a hot start his first game, like .950-ish save percentage. His only competition for the backup spot in Nashville right now is Kevin Lankinen, who actually was pretty good last year in Nashville. I think he had a .915, .916 save percentage and a decent amount of starts as the backup to UC Saros. So Askarov is would have to be really good this year to steal that right away. But Lankinen only has 1 year left on his deal. I think it's fair to assume that a decent improvement from Askarov in the AHL this year could lead to him breaking through as an NHL backup next year, which would be really cool to see. He's had a bit of an up and down development curve since being drafted. And even then he was a little unpredictable, but he's looked great recently, and that'd be a really cool story. And I say it happens. I say he's in the NHL next year, which would be wild, but we'll see. Matt, what about you? Any thoughts on this group of goalies starting hot in the AHL?
I'm going to focus in on Sebastian Cossa, who I previously mentioned a bit. Because of how he played in Traverse City in the preseason, got lit up a few times. I'm happy that he started out his first AHL start this season so well, because he was a big reason why the Grand Rapids Griffins won their second game of the season. I believe it was 41 saves or 38, one of those. It was a lot. It was a lot of saves. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was like in the 40s. But he got first star in that game for good reason. And he's just, I'm glad that he gets off, because his confidence level is probably a little lower going in because of how he played. And, they say that these guys don't look at the press clippings and don't look at these things. I think they do. I think they look at them. It's hard to avoid in this day and age to read stuff about you, and people were freaking out that this guy was drafted ahead of certain goaltenders that have been doing better in the AHL so far, and he's not even in the AHL yet. And now looks like, again, small sample size, but he's starting the AHL this season, and he's got a good game under his belt already. So I'm happy that he's started out so well because of just his status around a lot of different experts, fan base, of how he's going to be in the NHL. So, or, in the future. So I'm glad that he started out so good.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope he can keep that momentum going. It was 41 saves on 43 shots. I was really, really solid stuff. It's him and Michael Hutchinson, the goalie duo there in the AHL. So you kind of know that Hutchinson can take the starting load if Cossa isn't quite ready. But if he can do this every once in a while, then Cossa might make it a bit of a tandem situation, which I think would be really, really positive for the Red Wings goaltending system. Okay, so that wraps that section up for us. We're gonna wrap up the show as we like to do with our prospect of the week. Peter, I'm gonna start with you this time. For some reason, you're always last. I want you to go first. Tell us who you got. Who do you have?
So I am going to the London Knights, and no, I'm not picking Easton Cowan. I am picking actually someone who I had ranked ahead of Easton Cowan in my rankings in 2023, and that is Denver Barkey, the third round pick from the Philadelphia Flyers. In his last 4 games, he has 10 points, including a hat trick against the Sarnia Sting. Just seems to be on a different level this year, kind of like Cowan, with the Hunters and the system that they have. He's highly skilled, and he's getting more of an opportunity to play right now. You could start to see where, the production is starting to come alive when Cowan came back in the last 3 games. I believe he has 7 points since Easton came back. But before then, he had 6 points in the previous 5 games. So he was still being productive without Cowan, but I think with that chemistry that they've had previously in the season before, they're going to be on another level and dominating the competition right now. But just like, he is a smaller player, he's 5'9", he does need to add some muscle, but he is still very elusive, very strong with the puck skills, very has great awareness. Again, he knows how to turn on a dime, evade pressure when he needs to. He's got the skill set. If he's just able to grow a little bit more and add a little bit more weight, think he's got a bright future ahead of him right now, and still dealing with tough competition in the OHL. He's taken his game to another level, and for that, he's my prospect of the week.
Absolutely, that's a great choice. You could probably go with the London Knights every week and just pick someone new every time.
Yeah,
they go pretty well.
I'm saving all the other ones for Sam Dickinson later on. So
okay, that's fair. You gotta save it. You gotta keep him wanting a little bit. I'll go next here, and I feel like I've done him a few times. This might have to be the last one for a while. Also, Axel Sandin-Pellikka has just been so fun to watch early this year. I can't stop talking about him. He's got 6 points in 10 SHL games so far, which is ninth in all defensemen in that league, and second among all U20 skaters. Period. Only behind Jonathan Lekaramäki. He's looked phenomenal. His shot is crazy. He's just lining up in the OV office out in the face-off dot or the face-off circle and just ripping wristers, slap shots, anything he wants. And it's going really well for him early on. Will that keep up through the whole year? Unlikely, but he's looked really great to start. His play isn't streaky. The scoring might be a little bit. But he's played well over 20 minutes several times. He's a serious top 4 defenseman for a good team in the SHL this year. So that's really encouraging for Red Wings fans. And I'm just dreaming of him playing alongside Simon Edvinsson one day. That would be just a phenomenal pairing. Or Willander or Albert Johansson or Jake Wallman, whoever you want. Pick and choose. He's going to be fun to watch no matter who he plays with. Playing with Ben Sherratt, don't do that. Matt, who's your prospect of the week this week?
I'm cheating, and I'm going the Canucks prospect pool in general this past week. And I'll highlight a few players. There was one day that a ton of the NCAA, I think every Canucks prospect that played that day got a point, at least 1 point. And that was everyone was like, bad. Oh, what a great like 48 hours. This was like Canucks beat Edmonton Oilers 8-1. Abbotsford Canucks beat Val Rocket. It was a high score too. And then all these guys get points in the NCAA. Someone was like, this is great. I mean, everyone's so happy. The prospect pool looks great. The OHL as well. Kudryavtsev got points. Brustevich got points. I think he leads the defense in the OHL right now. So, I mean, to me, everyone's saying about Canucks prospect pool being not that good. Well, at least early on this season, a lot of them look good. So Lekaramäki scored again better as well this past week. So my prospect report tomorrow or on Monday, whenever I'm writing it, tomorrow is Monday, it's going to be loaded. So I'm going to have a hard time highlighting certain players. So
narrowing it down. Yeah. Yeah. That's good to see. Like when we went over them a little month or two ago, we talked about their prospect pool a bit. Like they've definitely been improving. The depth has improved significantly and not a lot of star power there, if any, to be honest, but more and more people, prospects looking like real contributors. We're gonna impact that team, which is really positive after a few years where it looked pretty dark.
Yeah,
but that's pretty positive. That's a new one. An entire prospect pool is your prospect of the week. I like it. Next week we're going to be talking about our prospect pool of the week. Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, you get everyone in, and then you can spread the love next week. You can get more specific, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want. I've done Axel Sandin-Pellikka like 3 of the last 4 weeks, probably at this point.
Well, at least I have more people to talk about. It's just Lekaramäki.
Yeah, that's fair. So. Yeah. That's fair. At least there's
picking it up from Lekaramäki, Arshdeep Bains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Branching out from them to them and other guys.
What's nice is I do split it. I have an AHL one.
Exactly. Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Article, and then I also got the rest. So it kind of
that's the way to do it. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, that does it for us this week. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Prospect Corner. Make sure you subscribe to the Hockey Writers YouTube channel to make sure you catch all of our new episodes. And also make sure you check out our NHL Draft and Prospect Substack to stay caught up on all of our new prospect content. There's a link in the description below. Check it out. Thank you, Peter and Matt, as always. And thank you all for joining us on this week's episode of Prospect Corner. We'll see you next time.